Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to call to order the admin committee meeting, the special admin committee meeting for May 10th, 2019. No, it's not special. This is a regular. Is there, where's Mr. Nastra? Okay. Are there any board member concerns? Is there any out of country or in-country travel that we need to report?
No, sir.
Okay. Is there any questions on the board agenda? How about approval, any board assistant applications that need to be approved? I didn't see any.
We just did the budget last.
I'm sorry?
We just did the budget, so we're good.
Okay. Sunjata, you're the first one to have a meaningful role today.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Burke. It's still morning. Good morning, Dr. Burke and members of the committee. Sujata Jain, Assistant Dean of Finance. This is a presentation of our budgeted versus actual results for the third quarter for fiscal year 18-19, and the third quarter ended on March 31st. So briefly, we are going to talk about a summary of these results and then get into a little bit more detail on the revenues and expenditures. And then I have a slide that shows the board-approved use of fund balance, and then also we have a 5-year projection based on these results. So the summary of our budget and the quarterly results is showing that our adopted budget for 18-19 was a balanced budget at $162.6 million. We had several amendments throughout the year.
Excuse me, Sanjana, can I ask Bay a question?
Yes.
What is a quorum? How many do we need for a quorum for this committee? I know we got it now. This is a question about.
It's three.
So three, okay.
Three.
Because Mr. Cacchiotti has to leave shortly, and I just wanted to make sure we had a quorum for the interview.
Yes, and even if one or two other board members needed to leave, the remaining members could, members could make concurrences.
Fine. I just wanted to make sure you're, because what we could do is trail the other items and do the interview now. Okay. If the gentleman is at the district office.
He's there. He's waiting to be.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Sanjay. Yes, if he's there. If he's not there, he is there?
He's there. Okay, so we want to take my own? Good morning, committee members. I'm down here. I'm Denise Garzaro, Clerk of the Boards. The current terms of office for the medical member and alternate will end on June 30th. An advisory committee appointed pursuant to state statute reviewed the 2 resumes received for these positions and recommended both candidates for interview and final recommendation by the administrative committee. Today, the committee will only be interviewing candidate Dr. Alan Bernstein. The incumbent member, Dr. Roger Lerner, was unable to attend the interview today and was also unavailable on April 12th when the prior interviews were held. Committee members have been provided copies of the candidates' resumes and I believe have on hand the interview questions. If it pleases the committee, and unless there are any questions by committee members at this time, we will start with Dr. Bernstein. Dr. Bernstein specializes in reconstructive foot and ankle surgery and has been in private practice since 1984. He also works as a healthcare consultant and serves as Mayor Pro Tem for the city of Tustin. He is an award-winning author and lecturer. Dr. Bernstein is willing to serve in either the regular or alternate capacity.
Don't walk out yet.
He's having to move seats for the
I know, I was just kidding. Thank you so much for coming. Can you hear us? Can you hear us? No? Yes?
Yes.
I
I can hear you.
You can hear us? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Can you turn up his volume?
They're trying to work out the feedback.
Okay. Is that it? Is that better?
I know, I was just kidding. Thank you so much for coming. Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
I can't hear him.
Yes.
We're working on an audio issue here. We're having a feedback loop, so I think we're gonna have you call in.
Huh?
We're working on an audio issue here. We're having a feedback loop, so I think we're gonna have you call in.
Huh?
Can you hear me, Dave? Can you hear us now? Test 1, 2.
Dr. Burke, I think we're ready to go.
Okay. Can you hear us now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, and we can hear you just fine. Well, thank you so much for coming today. My colleagues have a couple questions for you. This is our chair, Ben Benoit. Oh,
That's all right. So the, sorry, let me grab a microphone here. So the hearing board, we have a lot of interest, obviously, both the
Dr. Burke, I think we're ready
regulated.
to go.
okay. Can you hear us now?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, sort of. It's a tremendous amount of echo.
Well, thank you so much for coming today. No, that was me. A couple questions for you. This is our chair, Benoit.
All right, we're still working on the audio, it sounds like.
Oh, I see what she did. I lost a button. And she. If this is going to take some time, we can go back.
Dr. Burke, we're going to, sorry. We're having him call in on a different number, so if you just give us about 30 seconds, we'll get him in.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Sujata's over there thinking I could have been through by now.
Me too.
I could have been by the pool by now. Say, John, I see your item coming up while we're waiting. What's the deal on the cooling towers?
1, 2.
Dr. Burke, the project to upgrade the cooling towers is underway.
Test 1, 2.
They're starting work this month, and so we have an outside contractor who's doing that work for us, and that
How much is it going to cost?
so, and I forgot who's helping us. The overall project cost is about $6 million. We have a CEC grant for $4 million, and so $2 million is coming from district funds. But it's an innovative project. We're using new technology, and it's actually going to be part of a demonstration, and so everyone's really excited about it.
Can't run a building without heating and air conditioning.
Dr. Burke, I believe we're ready.
We're ready? We're going to try this for the third time. Can you hear me okay?
Just barely.
Who do we have there at the CCA?
We have Robert.
Unfortunately, the volume is really low. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you
We
fine.
hear you fine. You're coming through fine.
You hear me
Ask,
fine?
ask Robert
All
if
right.
he can turn up your volume.
Sounds like you got it. Can you hear us okay now?
I think Robert is doing his best right now.
Okay.
So my question is, between the balance of the community and the regulated businesses, and my question is, what do you see as the appropriate balance between public health protection and potential negative impacts on the business and the general economy because of that? How do you balance that?
Well, as a member of the hearing board, fundamentally, we take each case on its own merit, look at the facts, and make a determination with the framework of the rules and regulations that we purview here at the district. It is my understanding that the hearing board is there to provide regulatory relief in certain situations, but that has to be within the confines of the rules and regulations. So balancing the issue is an empiric determination for me. Being a physician for the majority of my life, I look at these situations where what's the symptoms, make a diagnosis, and come up with a treatment plan. And it's all fact-based. And so while we're here to support business, there's no question about that, it is within our regulatory framework. And in my mind, what we're attempting to do is make that business more proficient in keeping the air clean. So it doesn't seem to be a difficult challenge. Of course, I am a pro-business person, but again, within the framework of the context of what we're doing here as a hearing board. Did you guys hear anything I said?
We got it all. Thank you.
Got it all.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yes, I'm wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your background and how it would relate to a position on the hearing board.
Yes, ma'am. Be my pleasure. Well, as you can see from my resume, I'm a graduate of medical school, so I have a medical background. In addition, I ran for office and was privileged to be selected as a city councilman in the city of Tustin. Once I got involved, they were trying to figure out what responsibilities to give the doctors, so they assigned me bugs and water. So initially, I was part of the vector control district and rose to the position of president on that board, and have gotten very involved in the water world. Have sat as I currently sit as a board member of the Orange County Sanitation District. In addition, I started the water committee for the Associated California Cities of Orange County. Most recently, I've been appointed to the Environmental Quality Committee. Well, we joined the league. The city joined the league about 3 years ago again. I was a member of the Environmental Quality Committee and I'm now currently the vice chair. On a more personal note, I have a family. My father, my brother, which I may have mentioned in my application process, are both asthmatic. My son visited Ukraine, and due to the fact that they have virtually no air pollution law there, I had to be rushed to the hospital several times because of allergic obstructive airway disease. On a personal note, I am a survivor of a cancer survivor and deal with metastatic lung disease. And so the confluence of these experiences really brings to light the seriousness of what is done at the Air Quality Management District in trying to preserve the public health issue, which I've been involved with virtually most of my life now, and in the positions that I've taken as an elected official. So it's not only professionally, but personally an issue. Air quality is a key issue, and the serious work that's being done here at the district is something that I think that I would like to be a part of and can add to.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Dr. Michael Cacchiotti from South Pasadena.
Good afternoon, Michael.
I read in your resume and your application you want to be an asset to the district. And I was just at a hearing yesterday before an administrative law judge, kind of a hearing officer, similar to the position you play. If you can give us maybe one example or two of a decision you participated in or maybe helped craft where you felt, weighing all the factors of clean air, especially your personal background, your family's background, whether it's asthma or pulmonary disease, and of course your philosophy of favoring keeping business in business, not losing jobs. Give us an example maybe of one or two decisions you felt you were an asset to really bringing us, reconciling both of those aspects. Clean air, making progress, as Chairman Burke talked about earlier. He feels like that dog at the racetracks I used to go to as a kid, that greyhound racing after that rabbit, almost catching it, but not quite. How can we get there? And tell us about that decision or two where you played a role and you felt good about it.
Well, two particular examples come to mind. More of a broad brush stroke that I'll give you. Sitting on the city council, you sit sort of in a quasi-judicial position, looking at, let's say, for example, development in our community. And what you're weighing is of course, the business community and their desires with public health issues regarding environmental impact. They may be air or water. Of course, most of my experience has been in the water world, but nevertheless, all those issues are taken into account. So determining what particular projects are best for the city, how they are evaluated within the context of their environmental impact, the studies that are done to provide not only a service to the community, but protect the health of the community as well. So this happens virtually on a bi-weekly basis at city council meetings when entities come with us with conditional use projects or particular development projects. I also happen to sit on the LAFCO Commission, and several of the key issues that have come before me, I have to admit, have dealt with water more so than air, and have made determinations with regards to the municipal services reviews of what entity may be better to serve the public. Now, a key issue that was resolved and determined at the LAFCO Commission during my tenure has been utilizing the local sewer service in the city of Tustin, in which the sanitation district was offloading that, and we went through the municipal services review to determine which would be better. The two entities that were competing for that to provide that service, and went through all the environmental evaluations and the history of those organizations that would be able to serve our community best. With regards to air, my interaction through the sanitation district, and the sanitation district is a very close collaborator with this particular district, and of course, odor issues and public nuisance issues are at the central focus of what we do at the sanitation district, and I know that we have a very good relationship through the staff of the sanitation district, and so those issues come up for review in the operations committee or in front of the board to review and make notations regarding that.
Can you tell us how you're going to balance your time? I'm curious, are you still practicing right now your physician's work and then also your city council life and everything else? Can you, if you were to have to step up to the full-time position, how you would balance that work life? And sounds like you're already pretty involved, but this is coming from a guy that has a full-time job and also does all this stuff too, so I get it.
For me, I evolved from having a surgical practice to having a consulting practice. So my hours as far as my practice are my own. I can delineate when, where, what, and how. Otherwise, there was no way I could ever run for office, as you probably well know. It's quite demanding if you want to do the job that people that come from our background, we want to do the best job as possible. And so it is a time-consuming thing. But I'm able to manipulate my schedule whereby I would be available on the 3 days if necessary, or on the nights or weekends that are necessary to complete the task at hand and to serve on the hearing board.
Very good. And I'm curious, you're willing to serve as either the alternate or the primary, correct?
I am.
Great. Any questions?
I think you had a outstanding interview today. One of the best I've seen in probably the last 10 years. So I congratulate you on that. And now the admin committee will meet to...
Dr. Burke, I think you're saying some kind words, but I can't hear you. I appreciate whatever you're saying, but I really can't even hear you. I think your microphone might be off.
No, my microphone's on. I think my voice is
Oh,
off.
there you go. Okay.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I was saying that you had
I feel like Lou Gehrig here for a minute in Yankee Stadium.
Right. Today is the greatest. I remember that speech. I was a kid when that speech was made. But I said that you had an excellent interview today, and
Thank you, sir.
you were able to flush out, from my personal perspective, the difference between a resume and a person. So I thank you for coming in, and now we'll go into the administrative committee and decide what to do here. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, thanks, everybody. Have a safe trip home. Have a great weekend. I look forward to the opportunity of working together. Thanks for all consideration. And happy Mother's Day, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Mother's Day was said more often than on the... I was born on Mother's Day, by the way. But anyway, Ben?
Well, I know we've been waiting to hear from our current appointee to the medical position, and it's unfortunate he couldn't make it again today, but I know that he still, I think, would hopefully hold that position if his health improves. My thought
Can we interview him? I would like to interview Dr. Lerner, too, if we could arrange that sometime, because it's hard to compare two applicants if you haven't had a face-to-face with them.
Well, my thought was, we know Mr. Lerner, he's been serving for a while, and he probably wants to continue if his health improves. We want to go ahead and just leave him in this position and hope that that's the case. It sounds like he's the gentleman that's applying right now is okay, waiting to be as the alternate. And I think we all recognize that might not be for a whole lot longer, but hopefully it is. But that's sort of my thought, is we go ahead and just make this appointment with Dr. Lerner as the primary, this gentleman as the alternate, and we'll see where it ends up.
So the alternate position is empty.
Right.
I think that would be fine to do it that way. I think we've been satisfied with Dr. Lerner. I don't know what.
I've tried to stay out of this in the discussion because Roger Lerner, I've known him for a while, and I think he is a good person, and I don't think Roger will ever be back at the thing. And so I think that Ben's suggestion is an excellent one, and I hope that Roger does make it back, but he's been in the hospital over a month now.
Oh, okay.
And I heard yesterday that he was in intensive care. So
he has excellent credentials, so I was impressed with Dr. Lerner. I wouldn't want to take him off.
If Ben will make that a motion,
I will.
I'll be glad to second it. Okay. Would the clerk call the roll?
Aye.
Mitchell?
Is that what I couldn't hear you? Yes.
Councilmember Caccioti?
Yes.
Dr. Burke?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
I think that's a really nice conclusion to this matter. Anyway, back to Sunjata.
Thank you, Dr. Burke. Good afternoon, Dr. Burke, members of the committee. Good afternoon. Sujata Jain, Assistant Dean of Finance. Let me go back. All right, I'll just start all over again. So this is our presentation of the budgeted versus actual results for the third quarter for fiscal year 18-19 that ended on March 31st. And just gonna talk about a summary of these results and a little bit detail on the revenues and expenditures, and we have a board-approved use of fund balance slide, and then based on that, we have a 5-year projection. So the first slide is a summary, and it was a balanced budget for fiscal year 17-18 at 162.6 million, 18-19 for $162.6 million. And there were amendments that board approved throughout the year for both revenues and expenditures. Our actuals at the end of the quarter, third quarter, was showing $120 million for revenues and $114.8 million for expenditures. But we expect to end the year at $165 for revenues and expenditures at $170.6 million. And this slide is showing a little bit more detail, and what we did is we pulled third quarter of last fiscal year just as a comparison and benchmark to show where these revenues should be, or a comparison. So if you just look at the bottom line, which says total, you will see that the percentages are very much aligned at 72%. Of course, this is the end of the third quarter, so it would be 3/4, which is 75%, but it's close. But line by line, also, most of the revenues are pretty much aligned to where we are usually at the end of the third quarter. There are some fluctuations, and some of them could be timing of fees collected, or particularly like in the emission fees, you see a fluctuation. And there was one large collection last year during this quarter for emission audit that was done. On the expenditure side, once again, you will see in the totals, we are comparing pretty close to what we are at the end of the third quarter when we compare it to the prior year. And on salaries and benefits, we are trending closely. The one that's for capital equipment, we did have a budget amendment this year because of the AB 617 grant money that's coming in, and we expect to spend that by the end of the fiscal year by purchasing those equipment. We still haven't received the money as yet from the state. And this is a busy slide on the use of fund balance, so I'll just summarize it. The $8.4 million that we used out of our reserves were mainly because we have $1 million for the permit automation system. We transferred $2 million to the Health Effects Research Fund. We had budget restoration of $3.6 million, and a couple other items that are approximately $300,000, such as vehicle purchases for $300,000, the board approved. There was Office 365 and a mobile app for another $300,000, and then the China shipping initiative. So based on these results, we have our 5-year projection, and last year we are showing that we had a surplus, and we used some of that surplus for the items that I just showed in the previous slide. And the governing board's policy is to keep the reserves at 20% or above of revenues. And so we do show that at least for the next 3 years we'll be above or at 20%. And we have demonstrated and talked about that we manage the 5th year out, which is showing below the 20%. And in these projections, we have already projected CPI increases. The last year of Title V fee increase is already shown in the 1920 budget. That is the last year. And then we have shown the increases in retirement costs that SB Sarah gives us, and whatever we know at this point. And then we also have shown increases in salaries that the board approved for the staff. And with that, I'll be happy to answer questions.
No, I was trying to get Paul. Does that conclude your
Yes,
presentation?
that concludes my presentation.
Any
I'll take
question by
questions.
my colleagues? Then we will move on to Ron. You're up to bat.
Good morning, Dr. Burke, members of the committee. Ron Moskowitz, Chief Information Officer. As I mentioned yesterday in my presentation to the governing board, things are progressing very well, including our mobile app for the Android, which was scheduled to be available in June, our move to the cloud for all Microsoft Office products, and our cybersecurity improvements are moving very well as well. Everything else is great, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
No questions here? Great presentation yesterday, Ron. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ron, we can't thank you enough. You're doing a great job.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I really like the new app. And I noticed Fabian said they're introducing that to the children in the school program they're doing. So it's really going to be a very dynamic tool for us. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, Jason?
Oh, I have the, oh, sorry.
Thank you, Dr. Burke, and good morning. This item is a routine item, basically to recognize revenue from US EPA and the federal government and the budget in the current years to appropriate funds into EPA monitoring programs, the Enhanced Particulate Monitoring Program, the EPA STAR program, as well as Rule 1180 in the next couple of fiscal budget years, and to issue solicitations and purchase of air monitoring equipment and one vehicle. With that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Jason, is it a special type of vehicle or or just a regular car?
Well, this will be alternative fuel to meet the clean air requirements that the district has.
Okay, but not any type of special type of vehicle?
No, this is not a technology kind of advancement demonstration vehicle. This is more for hauling equipment around for their monitoring programs.
Any other questions? Does this require a motion?
Yes, it does.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Aye.
Yes.
Dr. Burke?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Dr. Burke, could we go back to item number 9? I don't think Ron got a chance to do his brief presentation and get a board vote, excuse me.
Oh, we need a vote.
He what?
We need a vote for
Item number 9, sir.
My apologies.
Oh,
I'll move approval.
would the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember Benoit?
Aye.
Mayor Mitchell? Yes. Councilmember Cacciari?
Yes.
Dr. Burke?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay. Then did we do Jason's? Yes. Okay.
We need John's.
And Jason, I wanted to say to you too that, you don't get up before the administrative committee often, but everybody acknowledges the work that you do to me, and that they talk about the level of productivity that you perform, and it is appreciated. Okay. Now, John Oliveira is a whole different story. Hey, John, how you doing, man?
Good morning, Dr. Burke. John Olvera, Assistant DEO for Administrative and Human Resources. The first item is a proposal to execute a lease agreement with the current operators of our Child Care Center facility here on the at the Diamond Bar headquarters. This is a proposal for a new 10-year lease that would begin July 1st. The annual lease payment is $43,929 plus a 2% increase each year of the contract, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any discussion?
Any questions?
Any questions? Take a motion.
Move approval.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember Benoit?
Aye.
Mayor Mitchell? Aye. Councilmember Cacciari?
Yes.
Dr. Burke?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Me again. The next 3 items are fairly routine service contracts. The first one, item 12, is to execute a 3-year contract with KLM for maintenance, service, and repairs of our HVAC and refrigeration equipment at the Diamond Bar headquarters for an amount not to exceed $130,937. Funding for this contract is in the 1920 fiscal year budget and will be requested in successive fiscal years. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Can we take all 3 items as one item? Take a motion on the 3 items?
Is that motion on all 3, Judy? Yes, on 12, 13, and I'll second.
Just a question on the landscape one. I'm just looking at it right now. What kind of services are they? Is it tree trimming services or also just the regular?
So we've divided the contracts into two, so there's a separate landscape contract and a separate tree trimming contract.
And this is for tree trimming?
The 13 and 14, one is landscaping, 14 is tree trimming.
Okay. Is there any requirement in there? I know with the regular landscape, we require they use electric equipment. What about the tree trimming?
Both contracts have that
Both.
requirement.
So what about the trucks they use? Because I know we have a contract in South Pass with West Coast, WCA, West Coast Arborist, was one of them. And he has these large, heavy-duty trucks which are diesel spewing. Is there any way we can do something to influence that industry?
I could follow up with that in part of the contract, sure.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we should approve it today, or can you negotiate it, or is it too late to?
Is there a immediacy to
Yes,
this
these
contract?
contracts are expiring in June.
Are what?
They expire in June,
When in June?
at the end of June.
So we have one more.
This will be presented at the June board meeting, yes.
But Mayor, the reality is, in order to get a truck that could service heavy duty, would
So
most likely have to be natural
How bad
gas.
does the landscaping look if you let it go a month?
I think we could look into that and report back to you how that could be influenced in the future. But I think that as far as these contracts,
How about we approve it pending my final approval after they talk to them? If how's that?
sure.
Okay? Would the clerk please call the roll?
Councilmember Benoit,
And this is on an amended motion just for the first two items, and we're holding the third?
No, this is all three items.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, they have to call me to make sure that I'm okay.
Okay.
Or, Michael, why don't we make it they call you?
No, you're okay. I trust you, Bill. I trust you.
Okay.
So the first one, just execute, ladder two.
Right. Microphone.
I was just saying that it's the ladder two.
I agree with that.
Okay, thank you.
So that's my motion,
Yes. Got it.
that the latter two are subject to
Nancy
Dr.
didn't
Burke's
understand a word
final
you said.
approval.
Just read the names, it'll be okay.
Councilmember Benoit,
Aye.
Mayor Mitchell. Aye. Councilmember Cacchiotti.
Yes.
Dr. Burke.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Item 6, that was through 15. Item 16? No, 15 and 16. 15, we'll take 15 independently.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Dr. Barr. Now afternoon, Dr. Burke. And committee members, this item before you is to execute a sole source contract with Bakewell Media and Cordoba Corporation for $150,000 each to come out of the BP Arco Settlement Project Fund in the amount not to exceed $300,000. We at South Coast seek innovative ways to engage with community leadership and to educate and increase air quality awareness through programs and events, especially within the disadvantaged and environmental justice communities. We want to educate them, and I can't stress this enough because we hear this not only in Sacramento but locally. They are not aware of us having to meet the federal attainment goals for 2023 and 2031. So this project would specifically target those community leaders in the disadvantaged and environmental justice communities within the South Coast jurisdiction. Each contractor proposes to hold 6 meetings each over the next 12 months within the environmental justice and disadvantaged communities with elected and community leaders. And when I talk about electeds, I talk about the local electeds, the city councils, the neighborhood councils, things like that.
I noticed we're changing vendors on this, right?
Yes, yes. The program will include a robust dialogue focusing on our initiatives and priorities as they relate to attainment. With that, staff is recommending approval of this item.
Take a motion on this item.
Move approval?
Second.
Any questions on this item? Would the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember Benoit,
Aye.
Mayor Mitchell,
Aye.
Councilmember Cacciari?
Yes.
Dr. Burke?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay, item 16.
Yes, sir, Dr. Burke, this item is to appoint, by recommendation of Vice Chair Benoit, Carlos Rodriguez. He's a current city council member from the city of Yorba Linda. He's also serves as Chief Executive Officer at the Building Industry Association of Southern California. He'll be, we're asking that he be appointed to the Local Gov Small Business Assistance Advisory Group.
How about a motion?
I'll move approval.
Second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Councilmember Benoit?
Aye.
Mayor Mitchell?
Aye.
Councilmember Cacciari?
Yes.
Dr. Burke?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-0.
Okay. Do we have any public comment? Bay, yeah.
Dr. Burke, since it's a special meeting, there's no generic public comment. We didn't receive any public comment cards for the individual items, which people could have commented on, and I spoke with the non-district staff that were here, and there weren't any public comments, so, for the individual items. Rita Loof, I spoke to Rita.
Paul, could you do that picture?
Did you just email it?
Yeah.
Did you get it yet?
About 10 minutes ago.
Text it.
You didn't get it. It's okay. It's okay. Never mind. Maybe I sent, no, I had the email address in my phone, so couldn't have gone to the wrong email address. I don't want to hold everybody up.
Text it to this number.
Sure. Is that 859?
Yes, sir.
No? Got it? Okay, the reason I wanted everybody to see this picture is because over the last decade or so, I've mentioned that when Ali was sometimes traveling, and he would have these tracks, and oftentimes I would be charged with carrying the satchel with him in it. Satchel was really heavy. And Ali would always say the same thing to me. He would say, service to others is the rent that you pay for your room in heaven. So Wednesday I had lunch with his wife, and she bought me this picture. And so I thought I would share it with you. This picture's taken in Louisville, Kentucky. And if they can show it to you, it's really something to see. Maybe I'll show it at the board meeting. No problem. Should I forget about it?
Your wife said yes.
The boss said something.
Yeah,
She
right.
wants to go to lunch.
Yeah, right.
Chief
Well,
Executive Officer behind you, be careful.
right. Who let that woman in this room? Who let that woman in this room? Fire security. Okay. So this is Ali's headstone. And inside that little piece there, it says, service to others is the rent you pay for your room in heaven. So not only did he say it to me, he said it to everybody for eternity when he left here. And I think that that's the kind of mantra that we follow here in this organization. So thank you for the birthday cake, the staff. I mean, it was just amazing. Yeah, Bay got me, you know, but you got to be careful when you get me because, you know, I do get you back.
Payback.
You know, but thank you. Everybody have a great weekend.